So welcome. My name is Jennifer Broadwater, and we'll be taking you through the today's creatives, basically for kind of like for beginners. So today's call, it's called Platinum for Creatives. I just wanted you guys to know we're going to do some basic navigation. Creatives Today page, we're going to go over, the function of the little squares or the lines. We're going to go over how you do your timesheets and meetings. And then there's always questions about calendars and syncing. So I'm going to go over some instructions on the calendars. We're going to go over traffic calendars and making your own, because these can be quite helpful to know what's on your plate if you guys are fans of calendars. We're going to do projects overview, just so you have a tad idea of what's going on, and conversations, why and how, and then questions at the end. And that's me. So I just wanted to start with that. So everybody on here hopefully has logged into Workamajig before. And when you first log into Workamajig, you should have a, please sign in, and you should always be using your app, and it should say .workamajig.com/platinum. I mean, that's where you should go. Your user ID should always be your email address, and then you should have a password from your administrator. If for some reason you forgot it, you can try and reset it. Most of my companies let people reset their passwords themselves. Now, beginning with that, I would like to mention that sometimes when you're having problems in Workamajig getting signed in, it can be like even the password. If you have password savers in there and you've changed your password and it's trying to pull in an old password, you may be absolutely sure you're putting in your right password, but it keeps taking you back and saying it's not right. Sometimes that happens when you have plugins. So I just want to note, and for you guys, plugins in Workamajig do not always play nice with Workamajig because they're an outside thing. So if you do have plugins, just be conscientious. Things like Grammarly or password savers don't always work in Workamajig correctly. If you are on this page and you do have any problems with the whole sign-in part, then most likely it's you just need to get it reset by your admin. Okay, so that's, once you get into it, you will find yourself, typically there might be a box here. This box is going to tell you about, how to reach us, where our help guide is, stuff like that. If you don't want that message popping up every time, you can just click that. From there, you will have a landing page, which we're going to talk about today. And typically you have been preset, like most of the users are going to be preset with the today's creative. And why is that? Because this is where most of your work needs to be done, because this is where basically you can do time entry from here and a couple other places. But this is that nice function, and this is where most of my users would want to start their day. However, I can go to my main page sometimes, very easy. Clicking on the left, you're going to get your main page. And depending on what you have access to, this user I have today is just a very basic user as a creative. It's like a graphic designer, maybe a copywriter, something like that. And he's going to only have, access to what he needs to have. Not in yours may have a few more and yours may have a few less, but this is generally the generic setup that we have when we first start Workamajig. So just note, whenever you come to here, there's going to be icons on here. You're going to say, oh, here's my creative one, here's my creative today, and that's where we just were. So I'm going to briefly head over to talking about this different things that you can do, kind of almost like an intro to, and you may find some of this familiar from before, but heading across the top, I just want to make sure everybody knows how this page should be useful to you. You should be definitely checking if you have a red number beside this bell here. This is very important, because this is going to tell you things that you need to do. When you click on it, this number looks higher than these numbers right here is because it includes messages. So messages are really just like our internal conversations for the system. And those are things that, hey, I should be reading these, but I also may have already got this in your, you already have an email about it anyway. So you can come in, just, clear them, and if I refresh this page, this number goes down. But what's really important is, hey, oops, I forgot. This always goes in here. I forgot to submit my time yesterday or last week or something, and I'm able to, approve or submit this time if I need to. So that's going to be in this area. If you have meetings, that you haven't, said that I was going to go to or something like that. I can approve to go to a meeting. So, oh, look, there's the meeting. I need to say that I'm going to go to it, let my boss know. Those will be in there too. And if you need to make a comment, in just a second why that approves, or 2 seconds. I'm not sure why that's taking so long. It's just a meeting. All right. And again, there's also going to be maybe some other things that you need to approve. If you were a person that needs to approve a deliverable, those will also be in here. So we try to make it super simple for you. So if you do have something to do, it's always a click, click, and you're into what you need to do, right? So that's always in here. And again, you want to keep that number, reasonable. I do sometimes see people that have a number over 1,000 in there, and just it's generally because they've never cleared up looking at these messages that you don't always have to have all these messages in here if you've already read them in your email and you don't need to refer to them again. In this area, this is your, hourglass. Okay, that's a new word. This is my magnifying glass today. And in here, there's 3 things that you could be generally looking at. I want you to know that views, again, depending on your security rights, you may or may not have access to all of these, but they're really just like mini reports. Hey, I need a listing of my projects that are all active, and I can literally put some filters on here and see what projects. So, not many people, you don't have to use this area, but that's what it's pulling from. It's usually just a listing screen. Your recent's going to pull up the last 10 or so items, and your global search will let you pick things from which you have access to also. So again, it's really easy if I just say I need to look up something that I know it's number 004, all the things with 004 are going to come up on this side on here. So again, this is your friend to make shortcuts to find things in Workamajig. Let me see, what else do I need to check? All right, so plus signs in Workamajig, there's a lot of them. When you see them, it means I can do something new in Workamajig. You're looking at, hey, I need to do a quick time entry and I don't feel like doing my time entry from here or some other place, but I can do a time entry from here. I can start a timer. I can do a conversation, which we're going to talk about, which are just basically emails inside of Workamajig. I can make a meeting from here. There's a lot of things. Just note, you see a plus sign, it's pretty obvious that I can do something new from here. On your name, you're going to pick on your name here. This is where that default page where I had this picture, you can change that by selecting a different image, dress this page to whatever you want. But I also want to let you know your default page. If you don't like the Creative Today page, which is this one, you have choices of other pages which may be more appropriate. You may want to come in every day and see the calendar. Sure, switch it to the calendar. So that just means that's going to be your opening page. You can check your calendar color. And then when we talk about conversations in Workamajig, I want to let you guys know that you can have your own signature. So if you click on your contact and you scroll down to the bottom, like down, and you won't see it right away, but if you click in the corner, you'll see a little A. And then when you click on that, it gives you options to create your own signature. And that signature will be printed with any emails that you send, or conversations, I should say, out inside of Workamajig. So it doesn't allow for images at this time, but it will let you kind of put your company name and stuff like on there. So each person can do that. All right, couple more things to note on here because this is important. Help guide. If you are a newer user, you can always find the help guide through here, and it will always open up in a separate browser. In this area here on the help guide, you can obviously type in anything you want, but I do want to mention, if you are using the help guide and you're down here, this is a real person. It goes to one of us in our office, and we do answer those between 8 and 5 Arizona time, except on weekends, usually Monday through Thursday, and I think 8 to noon on Fridays. But just know, it's not just a fake Workamajig, it's a real person behind that. So if you do have questions, even after today, and you still are confused on something, let me know. I'm gonna check the chat. I'm not sure if it's my connection, but the audio is going in and out. Anybody else having connection problems? Can you all hear me? Go ahead and type in the chat if there's a problem. I haven't had any problems in the past, so, and no one else is on the internet today. Okay. So you may want to log out and log back into this if you need to. Oh, while I was sitting here looking at the chat, you will also notice, how happy are you with your overall experience? This is just like after a few minutes when you're sitting on a page, this is going to come up. And I do want to mention this because believe me, if you even touch this, no, I'm just kidding. If you even look at this and write something or just enter that, we actually do go back and we will, it goes to a person that's in our office, and then we will try and find out, you know, what didn't you like about, what wasn't it telling you? And we do change our help guide based on what your input is, because we don't want it to be hard for you. We want it to be very easy for you. So just note that any, you know, this annoying thing sometimes comes up when you're, you know, in the middle of something, but you don't have to, you know, you can just take it off there. But please tell us if there's a problem or something like that. A couple other things I just want to mention, and then we'll get on to the actual creatives today's stuff is, if you see in here, sometimes you may have some type of problem in the Workamajig. If you have an error, oh, I have an error, something happened today, or on the, and I'm not really sure what that is. Oh, a media player that wasn't, I had a plugin problem. So if you ever open this or you're having a problem with Workamajig, you can copy and paste this to us. If there is an error and you're not sure, you know, something's not working right, we send it to our engineers and they can maybe kind of help you out if there's a problem. So again, that's in your more key and show the error log. Most of the time that's blank for me. So I was kind of surprised when I opened that today. And one more thing in this area besides that is the release notes. We make changes to Workamajig basically every single month. And you can see on 7/18, we made new changes, and every single month we make changes, and they are improvements. We correct fixes, and we make new advances on different things. So if you're ever, you know, wanting to see, like, what did we do to our deliverable board or what's going on with this, you know, we can go ahead and read those over, and you can definitely fall asleep or maybe be entertained by it. We'll see. All right, so now we're going to talk about a few minutes about your today's creative page. And, you know, we at Workamajig strive to make this as easy as possible because nobody thinks time entry is fun. Well, rarely, I would say. And we want to make it easy for you to be working on projects. So you should be able to have, your page should be similarly set up to what you're looking at now. And there's two different ways that we're going to go over today. And there is a third way, which would be a different call. If you have this one, this would be a different kind of board, and most people are not using that at this time. But if you are interested in using something that you have more of a different categories for the day, then we'll have a call on that in the future, probably with your account manager. If you do have, I should mention too, if you do have questions after today, you can reach out to support@workamajig.com and say, you know, hey, I was in the webinar and Jen said something about blah, 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 and they'll ask me or they'll reply to you. So don't ever feel afraid to go directly to us. That's what we're here for. Each of you guys has a support person, and we're all here to, you know, make this as easy as possible for you. In any case, so we have this way or this way to look at it, right? I usually go with this. Now, a lot of you may have a default that you have maybe squished up cards. And I will talk about this first, because if you guys are entering time and people are allocating hours, I think that it's best to have the cards open and expanded. Why? Because there's a lot of information on here that you might just miss, unless, you know, of course, it's one less click that you have to do if it's automatically expanded. So what I'm saying is, if you go to your more key, everybody has a more key, and you have display options. I have mine checked to auto expand tasks. And again, I think this is important because when I squish this up like this, what am I missing? A whole lot of stuff. And I have to click this anyways to see what that stuff is, which we're going to go over in a second. So the basics is, hey, I can see things in my display options. I can open this, and then we're going to talk about these others in a few minutes, but I want to talk about this basic card and what is on it and what it's telling me. So if you're a client, if you're a company that is your employer is saying that you need to enter time, which I would say most of my clients do, that's great. I want to talk about time. There are a few companies that they only just complete tasks and they do not do time entry. So you're just going to disregard this and just know When you're done with the task, you're going to just come over here and say it's 100% complete to complete the task. So if you're working that way where you're not doing time entry, it's as simple, I'm completed this task, leave it on your board, and maybe I can update it to a certain amount percent complete if I want to, right? 40, 20. But what I want to say first before we go to time entry is let's look at the parts of this. So it's going to tell me, first of all, I have these grouped by due date. So I already know it's, this is due today. I need to get working on it. This is due tomorrow. And I may scroll down here and see different cards for different days. Second, so you can decide how you want to do this. Some people want it displayed by due date. I'm going to show you how to do that versus a start date, and some want it displayed by client name. When you look at the card, there's going to be a couple other portions on here. If you have time and you need to enter time, it will tell you. Again, this is just a guideline. We hope that you were given 1 hour to complete something. You were given 1 hour to complete something and you still have 1 hour. That means I haven't worked on this yet and I should probably get on it. Okay. You may have things that are called to-dos, and I'm going to open that in a second, and deliverables. And you're going to also have your task name, and you're going to have your service and the name of this. So pretty much it's all right there to tell you what to do. I just need to work on it. When I click on this, anything that's blue is a link. And you're going to probably have access to the schedule and the team. So I can look at who's on this, team, see who's on there, great. And then I could be looking at the schedule, and that may or may not be something that's even necessary because maybe you don't care what else is going on in the team. You only care about what your job is, right? But you can see it from there. We also have that same ability. If you're going to this folder, instead of going to the entire project, I can just go to the dashboard, or I can just go to the schedule by clicking here, and that will open up just the schedule. So just note that's pretty easy. I can just go to the files. Do I have files on this one? I'm not sure. Yeah, lots of files on this one. So if I don't want to get off the page I am, this is just going to overlay it so I can see the files and things on it. If you click somewhere in the middle of the card or anywhere, that's going to open up the card and expand more information about your card. So you're looking at, one second. Okay, I'll just make sure there's no questions. You're looking at, when you expand this, is there conversations on here? These are what you would be talking about. So, you're on a project, you may need to talk to your boss about something on the project. You can start conversations from here. We'll talk about these a little later. I can see if there's something on red that was this is my update right here. This is telling me that I haven't yet opened this yet. And I can say, okay, great. So next time I do this, now this will go away. Notice the new update. I've already read it. I'm done with that, whatever it says. I may have a to-do list. To-do lists are one of two ways. Either your to-do list will say something it's going to be about this task. So to-dos are about the task, but give you further detail. So it may be something that I need to click on and change the status, because there's two ways to do this, where I've done whatever, I moved or I on whatever I was supposed to do. And then I say that it's complete. It could be like that. Or you may have something that up at the top that says complete to do. So there's two ways to do it. And it's basically a setup from your admin that says how they want to do to-dos, even if or maybe you don't have to-dos at all, that's fine. But there's basically, it's either going to be a check mark and hey, I'm done, or it's going to be a status. So those are in to-do list, and I can see it from here, and hopefully it would be, assigned to you, and then if you needed to notify people or send attachments or something else, you can do that from there. Deliverables, if you were assigned a deliverable, it could be through here, and you can see deliverables. And when I talk about deliverables, those are the things that you're making, which we'll go into a little bit more detail. And I can see the round, and then I can click on the details of the comments of the to-do, and of the deliverable through here. So if you have deliverables, you can see them through here. And then finally, the description, of the project itself. So like this project, I may only have one deliverable that I'm working on, but there's 7 deliverables in this, and I could open up a page and I can look at all of deliverables. It's taking me to a deliverable page. So I'm not going to open that. It's going to take a long time. So that's the basics of the card itself. So now I'm going to talk about the time entry part, which is where we get into what you should be doing on a daily basis. So time entry comes from a couple different places. I can do the time entry. I think I said a few minutes ago, time entry can come from here. Time entry can actually come from everyone timesheet. You can be coming over here and making a time entry. I think that we want you, I mean, Workamajig's best practice is to make your time entry off the card itself. So your time entry, again, is going to just be clicking on the little clock and saying, hey, I need to make a time entry. If there was a deliverable you were assigned to, it would be in here, but you do not need to do anything. We try to make it easy for you. All you need to do is say, how long did I work on this? And if it's done, you can click done. If it's you're done and you still had open to-dos on it, it's going to tell you that. So if I said this, it's going to say, oh, do you really want to do that? Like, hello, you didn't complete what we said. So you might be like, no, maybe I shouldn't complete that. Some people will have to make comments when they complete something, some don't, but you're going to be saving these. And as you work through your day, the number will hopefully increase to 7 or 8 hours a day, whatever your requirement is. Sometimes people have requirements. Your boss may say you have to work 6 hours a day on projects, and you can have 2 hours a day. That's miscellaneous meetings and stuff. That's up to you guys, but this is going to continue throughout the day as I'm going through here, making a new time entry for each one. So I'll do one more just so you guys understand that it's adding it up. Now, you may also, like you saw earlier, there's meetings. So sometimes your meetings will be on the side if you've accepted a meeting. And what's really cool is if it's to a project, to a task, you can actually put a time entry for that meeting if by just hitting save. So here, and we have a half hour that we're adding to that time. So again, you can do that with any time entry, new meeting. Oops, new time entry right down here. So you'll be able to put time to meetings that are on projects through that process. So that's kind of your day that's planned out, which we're going to talk about stuff on the calendar in a little bit also. Okay, so that's not the end of the story on time entry. So at the end of the day, hopefully, like I said, you are going to open this screen. What? That was weird. That should not have happened. Hold on a second. I have to quit my other browser. At the end of the day, you should be coming over to this screen and you should be making sure that this information is correct. Most of the time you would be able to get into this information and you may be able to change the task if you needed to. And then you may be able to put more, different hours or something like that. Oh, they didn't like that one for some reason. Maybe that's because I shouldn't have done that. You may not be able to change tasks or service if you have only if you have the security right. In other words, you may be locked down to a certain service or something. If you are on this page and you can't get the service, that means it's not in like your services, art direction or copywriting or whatever it may be. A lot of times that is locked down for the creatives. So you might not be able to do that, but you could insert another row. And I will talk about this briefly too. If you are going through this, there's one job that you will not see on here, but you may have it, and it's called your admin or something similar to that would be set up. So most of my clients have what's called an admin project, and that's a project in which I need to account for all these other things that aren't directly related. Great, you have your day is filled up, but you're probably not 24/7 working on a project, right? There's other things that happen. You may have some personal time off. You may be in company meetings. You may have some new business development, and you might need to put time to that. So most of the time there's a project set up for you in order to do that. If there isn't one and you guys are interested in it, let's support at workamajig.com know that you guys think that you may need this, because in the end we can get a report that says Keanu worked 6 hours a day on outside stuff, and 3 hours a day on the inside, or billable time. I guess you would say billable time versus non-billable time. So in any case, I will go down to copywriting and I can say I worked 2 hours on that, and I can add that to my time. So hopefully you guys have something similar, so you're accounting for all the internal time that you're not actually working, and you're going to meetings and stuff like that through here. From that point, all right, so I've worked 8.5 hours today. You should be then opening timesheets, and you're either going to have a submit or an approve button, depending on if you're your own timesheet approver or not. So, Tuesday, I can say, look at this. I can approve, you know, oh, because of minimum number, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that now because in my case, I have minimum numbers of hours that are required. If you don't have minimum, so I didn't get to enough. Oh, it's not reflecting on my rest of my hours right now. But when you get to the minimum numbers of hours that you can do, then you would open the timesheet and submit your timesheet. Sometimes people tell me, well, what happens if I submit my timesheet and I have an error or I need to fix something? That boils down to if you can unapprove your own timesheet, you can fix it yourself. If somebody else is your timesheet approver, you will need to ask them to unapprove your timesheet so that you can make changes to it. So again, we expect you to do, Workamajig is configured that you do timesheets for at the end of every day. And the reason that is because from the other side of the world, there's people that do the billing and you can't bill for your time until your timesheet is approved. So we want to have time entered on a daily basis so we can get those invoices out to our clients so we can make money for our and keep our jobs, right? That's the whole point. All right, so that's in timesheets. I will tell you in the more, there is some display options on here, like how do I want it? Do I want it by client, by campaign, by task? I can, you know, change this up if I want to, but I will tell you on here, default projects touch today. What this means is if I was on the project screen and I went into a project, it's automatically going to populate on the screen with a blank amount of hours for you to fill in. So just note, sometimes people think that's easier. And that just means if I go into my actual projects and I've actually clicked into a project, it's going to then recognize that I've been working on this and then go and put a line in so that you can do time entry on it in case you forget. So that's kind of a cool feature. What else was on? Oh, one more thing I wanted to talk about on this page before we get on to the next thing, which will be calendars. In that more key, what you see on here is completely up to the display options. And I have to say that this is like one of the biggest, not issues, but biggest things I see that people say, I come in here and I don't have anything on my plate because they've put some kind of like thing on here that has like all these buttons, checks, and then they save it. And then, oh, look, nothing, they have like almost nothing. So just note whatever you have in your display options is definitely going to decide how this day is. So if you're really wanting to see what's, you know, coming out in the future, and maybe I want to sort it, I kind of like sometimes people sort it by, you know, client and all, and I take some of these off and I want to really, oops, I do want to keep that one on. Now I'm set it up, here's my clients, and I can see, you know, all the things I'm doing. You'll notice if you do that, that probably you're going to get something that looks like this. And it's just letting you know, if I'm looking at everything, that I can't actually work on this because there's a predecessor not complete. What that means, I can't do my design and copywriting because there's some other job in front of mine that needs to be done before I start my job. So that's why a lot of people do not care to see cards that they can't actually work on. And they do want to keep the predecessor complete because, you know, why look at something that makes me have anxiety and thinking that I need to do all these jobs when I can't even do them because somebody else didn't do their job. So I like it kind of like this too. So again, that's the foundation of this page. Then there's also, if you look at this other one, you will see conversations sometimes. You might have a bunch of conversations on here, and just note they will stay there until you actually open the conversation, which you'll have to kind of click in somewhere, and it says that it's on red. And now that I've read it, if I refresh my page, that will go away. So it will go away anyways if I would have navigated to another page on there. But again, you don't need to see. These are just kind of like a reminder of things that you may need to read, and they may not even pertain to you. They might just, because you're on the project, you're going to see this conversation here. And it's really just wants you to click on it and see what that conversation was about. Oops, sometimes I have a hard time. It's what it is, and oh, look at that. And you can actually reply to these conversations, which will feed back into the project themselves. All right, so that's, and then if there is anything that happened today, what statuses and stuff, you can look at the daily feed. I don't find it super exciting, but that's where that is. All right, so the next section we're going to go over today, oh, it's already halfway done. Submitting timesheets. I just want to make sure I'm looking at my own notes to make sure where we're at. don't know why that's on there. Okay, so we've done this. We're going to go over calendars a bit. And the reason is because people use calendars. So let me go back over here. So there is in Workamajig, everybody has their own calendar. And you may be already using it as your default calendar, your personal calendar, and putting in things that you need to know. But I would say most of my clients also are using some type of Office 365, Outlook 365, or Google 365 now, or some type of subscription. And there are instructions, and I think it is, why, if you're really into using the calendar and an outside source and you want to pull those items into Workamajig, you can, and it's not that hard. It will take you maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes to do this. So I just want to let you know, it's great. If you want to stick all your stuff in Workamajig and use everything in Workamajig, that's great. And there's no problem with that. In fact, when you do put things in Workamajig and there's, like I said, those meetings that will show up, you can put time to them. When you sync them in, I think that there's the inability to put time to the meetings that are synced in from another calendar. I haven't been able to do that. I've tried it and I wasn't able to get it. Anyways, so I do want to let you know, and I can also, you guys may, where is this? Connecting to external calendars. In our help guide, it's kind of hard to find because it's a newer feature, and I'm going to just open it up. Oh, I think I just went out of what I was in. Shouldn't have done that. And it's connecting to external calendars. So if you have the personal MS 365, there's instructions. It even has a little video. And if you have the G Suite one, it has a little video, but it walks you through how to get those into Workamajig. I mean, I can't really demonstrate it because mine's already in Workamajig coming in, but it's basically it's using a link of a secret iCal format, which you're going to just take from your calendar outside of Workamajig. And then put that into Workamajig, and it's going to pull, and it may pull, every hour. It just kind of depends on the setup, but you can force it to pull also. But I want to let you guys know, in order to find that, you might just type in G Suite or something like that, and it will come up as an option. Or I can send the link if for anybody that needs it. It's support.workamajig.com, and then it has this big personal link on here, but for calendars. So 1 second, I'm going to stop share for just 1 second because I accidentally knocked myself out of my Keanu Reeves account. Just 1 second. Isn't very bright. Just 1 moment. Oh, just 1 moment. Sorry, this is taking so long. I'm just having a small problem getting to the area I need. Oh, 1 more second. I just realized what I did wrong. Okay, be sharing 1 second and share screen. All right. Sorry about that. Never accidentally log yourself off during a webinar. Note to self. All right. So what I wanted to talk about next, because now you can see it is important that, if you guys do use calendars, that you have somewhere to go to see these calendars. But I want to talk a few minutes about actually making a simple traffic calendar. And the reason I want to talk about that is because sometimes when the kind of environment you're in, due dates become super important. or at least for most of my clients there, because you have project due dates. So all of you should be able to have the function to create your own kind of a calendar to put onto your calendar. Just say, when are these due dates? You know, instead of just looking at it on the Creatives Today page, calendars are helpful. So I want to talk a few minutes about the resource manager, and you should all have access. If you don't, or you need access after this call, we'll try to get you access to this. But the traffic calendar is something you can set up for yourself to say, hey, I need to know what's going on with things that are tasks that are due. So this is just a general filters, and you can set this up any way you want to add it to your own calendar. So most of the time you might want to know something like, oh, when's my due dates for things for July that are still incomplete? And you want to see it for just yourself because you don't care about any of your team members. So you can come down here. Oh, you could come down here if I know how to get to it and find, who am I? And what you do, you know, you decide what filters you want, and your name will definitely be in the dropdown if you're staff, and you decide what you're looking for. Maybe you're only looking for one client. When you're looking for something of a certain task name, you know, you're using this to basically search and find stuff. So when you hit search on here, it first kind of brings it up in this view, which is not as helpful as I like. I like the calendar. So I come over to this view and suddenly it's going to tell me, here's my due dates. I'm supposed to be done with these two things today. I'm supposed to be done here. So they'll show up on here. And if that's helpful to you to see these things, and they may be different colors depending on, like this one was a different color because the project color was a different color. If this is helpful to you and you say, yeah, I want to put this on my own calendar, it's a very simple process. So you kind of, and if you don't like it, you just go back. So I'm going to tell you, so I'm like, oh, great, this is wonderful. I want to put this on my own. So what you have to do is publish this for yourself. And it's just, it's a simply, you know, I'm just calling this, whatever you want to call it. And you can decide how you want to see, you know, what you want to do, and you just hit publish, right? So this is the point where you're like, I'm happy with this and I want to put it on my own calendar. Only this does not put it on your own calendar yet. All it does is save it over on this side here. So you may see other people have published calendars in your office that I'll be on here unless they hide them from you or something like that. But then what you do after you make a happy calendar that you're interested in, I could come to my calendar page and it does not look any different right now. It is the same old, same old. So what you have to do to get that on here is go to your More key, go to your display options, and you're going to select More calendars to view. And when you do that, there should be, you know, by the way, you could be sharing your calendars with other people. This is your option on here, but you're going to come down to the bottom and, oh, look, here's Keanu's calendar. And I want to add this onto my regular calendar because I think it's important for me to see those dates. So boom, oh, I guess I had them brown instead, but when I pulled this in is because Keanu's calendar is brown. In any case, now I'm looking and I'm able to actually click into these. I mean, these take me right to the project schedule. I can go to the files. It's kind of nice to be able, at least I think, to be able to see my end dates of when things are due, so I can kind of have a plan out there of how soon I need. If I had a bunch on one day, hey, I've got a busy day today, obviously. So hopefully that will be helpful. A couple of the things with that calendar, you know, by clicking here, I can just see a week view or a day view on here. And if I go to that More display options, if you guys, I like to always show that legend on the right. So I have that option over here to decide, no, I don't want to see that calendar anymore. I'm done with that or whatever. And if ever I decided that this calendar is terrible and I never want to see it again, if you just go back to your resource manager, traffic calendar, and it's kind of weird. I just was why I'm telling you this is you kind of have to click right here and then go like this and then, hey, I don't want to see this calendar anymore, and it will say you can get rid of it. So feel free to make as many calendars you want for things that you're searching for, publish them and then unpublish them or whatever. But again, I just like to talk about calendars because obviously they're fun and most people use them. All right, so now we're down to project overview. All right, I'm going to go into this for a few minutes because generally, unless you're a project manager, you might not hardly be in projects at all. Like these are your projects. When you get to this page, and I should have gone a little slower, you should be in probably project manager, projects. Yours might be under something else, but if you find a page that's called projects, typically these are the projects that you are on, and it's going to give you information about those. And you're hoping they're all green and happy, and they're working right along, and they may show the to-dos. There may be an option up here to show different views. Like I have one that's, has different items on it. You may or may not have that. You might just have a default view. But in any case, I'll just go across this so you guys know. And again, it may not be something you care about all the time, but it is good to know. If you guys are using estimates in your projects and your project is at 80% or more, meeting that budget for the time entry, then this will turn to yellow. And when it gets to 100, it will turn to red. It's kind of just to let you know, hey, are we getting, getting close to our budget? And that's only if you have an approved estimate on here. Project status, that's telling me if I'm behind on the tasks or not. So I know I'm behind on the tasks on this one. And then you may have different project statuses. You shouldn't be able to click on here. This just is more of a, hey, where are we at with this? And yours might be different. And then this is where we are with the project themselves overall. And then of course, I can see actual hours, just depending on what was set up on here. And this one's really long and has way more stuff than any of you guys probably need, but just note, you can get a lot of stuff on here if you have the security right to make changes to this or know somebody that does, right? So that's just the overview, right? So now this page is really productive. If you go into your More key and your display options, this really controls how you're going to see this page. These are projects that you are on, and that's usually because most people that are creatives can only see projects they're on anyways, unless they have the security right to see other projects. But you may only want to see your open assignments. And instead of grouping them by client, you may want to group them by project status instead. And then you have some other options down here of, how do I want to see them? If I save this, you'll note, look, now I have one in Discover and a bunch in production. So feel free to adjust this to what works for you. If I don't need to see everything, projects with only open sites, and how you want them group and ascending, descending, and what company and stuff like that. So this is something you can play with. And you can't really mess it up, but occasionally people will get themselves into trouble. Is the one thing they do get into trouble is they'll be like, oh, I only want to see things that are on hold or something like that. And once they do that and they hit save, and then they're like, oh, my projects are all gone, and they forget, why are they all gone? I can't see them. And then they get mad, and then they come back, and I say, just go to your display options and take that, select none. Right? I can go back and select none again. Select none is really just bringing it back to what it was in the beginning. So that's the first part of projects. Why would I want to go in any further than that? Maybe you don't need to, but sometimes that's where all the information that you need for a project is going to be. If I click on each and every one of these, you should have two things for sure. You should have access to see the schedule and maybe see where it's at. This one hasn't been worked on yet, but it would tell me if things were complete on here. And then on the team, it will tell me, of course, who's on my team with me, in case you don't know. And then most importantly, spec sheets, files, to-dos. Maybe you need to see the budget, but a lot of people will have I didn't have a spec sheet in here. A lot of people will have spec sheets where they're looking at that to, make the item on the project. They would see a spec sheet laying there. I should have, let me go to this project and stuff, because that was the bad example. Oh, no, I didn't. Well, there could be a spec sheet on here. Let's pretend there was, that has the information that you need to do to fill out. So spec sheets, most of my clients use them. I don't see why you wouldn't use them. Files, if you have files on the project that are other than the deliverables, again, I think I opened this earlier, you can see all those files. You can open these files from here. You can download the link. You can rename the files and stuff like that, and even send it from a review. But this is just kind of a storage place, not necessarily. So maybe you're gathering, let's just say, for example, you're gathering images or PDFs or something that you might want to use on this project, but you haven't actually made it into a deliverable yet, meaning if you guys are using deliverables, they get stored. And this is more of a process of approving them over here, but this is a place where could be just gathering up a bunch of files. To-dos, if you have them on the left side, you may open this up and it may take you to a board where I told you that will tell you, where are we at with this? And you could actually move these. This is kind of another call also, but you can, if this interests you for your to-dos and statuses, let us know and we'll definitely do a call on that. And then again, you may have access to the budget. What's over here is a lot of times people will be like, hey, somebody changed the due date on this and I don't know why. Well, this will tell you everything that was touched. It was almost all touched by me and a couple things by him, right? So if I ever am looking, everything that was done on this project so far, every invoice, everything that was touched, you can go back and look for it. I mean, not that you need to, most of the time, nobody cares, but in the few instances that you are looking to find out who changed something, why, or why did you change something, you're just going to look in your daily feed. Other things down here, this is, like I said, another call. You may see deliverables, you may see one, you may see a ton, and they may have statuses on them. They can be found in here. And then I do want to talk about the conversations area. So like I said earlier, your conversations can be on that Creatives Today page, but a lot of times your conversations might just be in here, in the project themselves, where you may be notified, hey, I didn't read this one. It will show up that I didn't read it. This one was not read by Keanu because I'm Keanu. So if I open it, I can see during this task, he needed to upload this deliverable. I can reply to him, okay, I'm doing that now. I can attach things to it. And if your conversations or emails are set up properly, these will feed in and outside of Workamajig also. So if you need to make a conversation to someone, what I'm trying to say, if you need to make a conversation to someone that's a client, and they're set up properly, in not the client, but your Workamajig is set up properly, which I'll talk about in a second, you can actually come in here and look for the contacts that are the client contacts. And I can send stuff to Ashley Judd and she can send something back and then her conversation would be right here. So it's always good if you guys are writing, instead of, basically conversations are to replace your Slack, your Skype, your emails, so that everything can sit in one nice little place and I can see all of this on here. I can come in here and I can make a new conversation. Now I'll let you know right now, you'll see it automatically populates some people on the side when I make a new post. And that is directly dependent upon, on your team tab, that there is a subscription area. And if you are marked on here, then your email automatically gets generated. So if I said, no, I don't want these people. So sometimes some people are always needing to know all the conversations. I mean, they want to be included in it. So those are the people that would be on this page check marked. And you may or may not be able to check mark. I think you should be able to check mark that. So now when I open this, there's only me and Audrey and Keanu. Yours, whoever you are, automatically populates also. So the basics of this is I need to make a statement about something, please review something or look at something and maybe make an attachment to something. Right? And I can tie it to a task if I want to. And if you have types on here, you may be, talking about something project related. And this field, if you do have this, is a reporting field. Later on, I can bring up all the conversations that are project related in a report. And I can tie that down to all projects, all project conversations that say this kind are that were related to Audrey Hepburn that was on it, something like that. You can do this. So this may or may not be something you need, but it does help to filter out later. If you're just getting too many posts and you can't find stuff, this will help narrow that down. So again, this little button too, if I want to make it visible to the client, I can. If I take, okay, let me see, do I even have a client on this one? Contacts. Okay, so Captain Tennille. So this is what happens. If I have Captain Tennille on here, it's automatically visible to the client. But if I say, oh, I don't want them on there, it erases that. So they automatically does not let your client see that, because sometimes we do in Workamajig, clients can be free users. I don't know if you guys know this, but clients can be free users inside of Workamajig. And also, if I'm emailing them and I don't want to accidentally email my client, that's kind of a protection. If I take their email off here, it takes it off here, so they won't be able to see it if they were on this project and they had access to seeing conversations. So anyways, you save it, saving it basically just emails it out, right? So that's the one I just did. People can reply to it. They'll get notifications in their email and they'll see it on here. So I see most of my clients, sometimes if you aren't using our deliverables, they sometimes actually make conversations and link in the deliverable that they're doing. So you might be using, my mind went by, Google Docs or something else to put your stuff in, excuse me. So you can put links inside your conversation so that people can see the link to whatever you want to review. So just note that that's a simple way. Of course, we do encourage you to use our own deliverables because they're kind of fancy now and they work really great, but a few clients prefer to put them into Google Links or Google Docs or something else, which is fine also. All right, so that is, there's a lot of other buttons that you might see on here, like that you don't need to do anything with. So if you're like in the schedule, I just want to say, no, not everything needs to be touched. I mean, if you're over here and you're like, do I need to touch all these buttons? I can see stuff on here. It's going to tell me stuff. No, for the most part, your day is like, where am I? What am I assigned to? Oh, look, you might see your name here. I need to do this, but most of the time that you're working in Workamajig, all of your functionality should be based on that Creative Today's page, not really needing to go too much into the project except for deliverables and conversations. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, so where am I at now? Once again, there. All right, projects overview. Oh, well, we kind of just did conversations. I want to do one more thing about conversations and then I'll be taking questions since it's almost out of time anyways. Just so you know, first of all, if you have that plus sign and you didn't want to dig into this conversation over here and go in through here, if you do a conversation through here, a note, there's two sides to this. A note may be something more like I need to do it and I need to see it for myself. Like I don't think my whole office needs to know this, but an email, of course, this side clicks in and you can actually email it to a person. So just briefly, if I need to tell myself no to follow up on something that my boss asked me to, it can be tied to a project, but it doesn't have to. And then again, here's that conversation type. It can just be project related and then do this, whatever. But what you'll note on here, it says completed. And if I said, oh, I got to remind myself to do this tomorrow, whatever I'm supposed to do tomorrow, if I just uncheck this, and this is just a note for myself, I'm pretty much emailing it. I might attach something, but I'm saving it on here. And it's saved, right? So in my conversations, note to follow up, that tells me that tomorrow, that's why I said it's good to have this. I can go, oh, tomorrow I can open this back up. And when tomorrow comes, I can say I've completed it. So that's the note side. Again, mostly it should just be for yourself. You assign it to yourself to just give yourself a reminder. The other option, if you're in there in the conversation and you just say, I want to make a quick conversation, you're on this side. It functions just like it does inside a project. I can tie it to a project, but I don't have to tie it to a project I'm on. So I can just be emailing. Again, it's almost like just emailing. I just want to email. It has to be somebody that's a contact inside of Workamajig. It could be another staff member. It can be a contact, or it can be a lead, if you guys are using leads or somebody on my team, whatever it is, I can give them a message on here and then I can send that to them and even follow up. So these conversations, again, don't have to be tied to a project. The ones that you're creating that are inside of the projects from the Creative Today's page, those are definitely tied to the project because it's automatically populating from the conversation inside of here to start that. And it's automatically putting it inside of the cocktails mixed emotion drinks project. All right, so I've got a few minutes left, so I'm opening it up to any questions you guys may have. Again, after this call, this will be live if you need it for anyone else in your company to go over or listen to. This will be live probably within the next couple of days. And that takes me back to the support@workamajig.com. Again, if you go to the webinar area, boom, here, just note it will end up in this past webinars and it will take you to a link to it after this call. And do note that we have a lot of great webinars and we have at least like 4 webinars. I think we do 1 per week now. So feel free to look at the upcoming webinars that are coming up and plan, like if you wanted to go more deep into that, deliverables is coming up, or those conversations and to-dos is coming up. That's coming up next. I didn't have a chance to go over planning projects. That is one other way that we do. And that's a whole nother call in itself. Yes, can I review projects I have touched today? So the projects that I have touched today, let me go back to, where am I at? Creatives today. So it should function. If it's not functioning, is if I go to my projects, any projects or campaigns, well, no, it's actually just projects. That means if I clicked on at least into this project at some point, then it would automatically, so it knows, like the computer knows that Keanu went into fried green tomatoes today. That means when I go to my creatives today page and I go into my time entered for today, did that not do that? Maybe I didn't have that function, and should automatically be, didn't I put that for projects touched today? Why is that not working? It should have inserted a row. So if you're, I'm going to have to check on that after this call, because it should have automatically, because I touched that project today, that should automatically showed up as something that I need to do for a thing. So if you leave me your name on there and your company, I will write back to you after this call and see if I can get that working. It seems not to be working for myself right now, and I'm not really sure why, because it's always worked in the past. So it might be something I didn't do on my end. Any other questions for today? Okay, well, I hope that this was helpful. Again, the main ideas were, conversations and working on getting your time entry in there, and just not being overwhelmed with too much on your plate or too little on your plate. And again, if anybody needs help with any of these, I'd be happy to help you. Just write out to support@workamajig.com, tell them that you want to talk to Jennifer, and I will go ahead and do that, get back with you. All right, Alexander, I will go ahead and get back to you on the projects touched today as soon as this call's over. All right, well, it was nice talking to you all. And hopefully we'll meet again in the future. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.